Everybody, welcome back to the NC State Insider Podcast. I'm your host and lead beat writer for NC State on SI, Tucker Sennett, joining you here today for our usual game day preview as the NC State Wolfpack is off to South Bend, Indiana to face the 16th ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish in probably NC State's biggest game of the year to this point. If you're trying to watch this game, it will be on Peacock, streaming exclusively on NBC's streaming affiliate there. So if you don't have Peacock, make sure you make that move and get ready for the game that way. But as we always do, we will run through our usual game day preview segments. We'll start with our stat projections, run through some expected storylines for the game, give you some bold predictions, give you a worst case scenario for the Wolfpack, and finish off with our score prediction for the game. So let's just dive right in with these stat projections. And to me, it starts with the quarterback matchup. So we'll start with the NC State side. CJ Bailey, sophomore, coming in off of his best game of the season against Campbell, led NC State on 7 or 8 straight touchdown drives, threw 4 touchdowns in the game, left after a drive in the fourth quarter to get him that over that 300-yard mark and really a phenomenal performance, although it was against an FCS opponent in the Campbell Fighting Camels, who are one of the poor FCS teams out there. Nonetheless, I think Bailey goes in, continues his solid play, puts up 300 plus yards again, throws a pair of touchdowns. I do think he probably will turn the ball over in this one, given how strong Notre Dame's defense has been in the turnover margin, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. I think Hollywood Smothers gets things going in this one. Continues to run efficiently. I have him going for about 90 yards and a touchdown. I'm not sure he'll be able to crack this 100-yard mark, especially if NC State gets down in a hurry, because they might be trying to push the ball a little bit more quickly and get down the field in an effort to prevent that hole from getting any deeper than it needs to be. I also think Notre Dame's been a really good tackling team so far this season since those first 2 losses. That Texas A&M game was really an aberration for this defense. A lot of points scored, a lot of just silly plays happened in that one. So you can't hold that game against this defense too much. And there are some really talented tacklers on this team. You got Tay Johnson, you got Boubacar Traore, you got Leonard Moore in the secondary, and they're a young group, but they're sort of growing each week, and that's certainly a concern that I have for NC State is that that group is just getting more and more confident with each game that they win, and they're on this 3-game winning streak, so it could be a slower day for Smothers. We'll see how that actually plays out. I think Justin Jolie is in for a big day just because of the strength of this defense being its cornerback leader and its safety leader in Johnson and Moore. So I think Jolie finds some soft spots in this defense. I think they'll be able to push the ball down the field to him a little bit. So I have him going for about 6 catches for 60 plus yards and a touchdown in this one. I think Kurt Roper will look to get the tight ends involved, take advantage of their size, and try to get them going in the passing game because my final stat prediction is I think Terrell Anderson's going to have a rough afternoon. He's established himself as kind of the alpha of this receiving group over the last few weeks, although we've talked about and written about how versatile this group can be and guys can step up at any moment. Noah Rogers can step up, Wesley Grimes can step up, Keenan Jackson can step up. So I think one of them is going to get neutralized by Leonard Moore in this game. And I think based on his performance over the last few weeks, it's going to be Anderson. So I have him only getting 1 catch and sort of being blanketed by Moore in this game. And that'll be something that Bailey's going to have to adjust to and look for other receivers. As for the Notre Dame side, I have true freshman quarterback CJ Carr going for 270 and 3 touchdowns. I think he's proven that he's a very, very solid college quarterback. He's learning on the fly, And with each game, he just looks a little bit more confident out there. He showed that he can play in big games in those first two losses, kept his team in the fight, and he's going to be finish the season as a very strong option at that position, and I think the future's bright there. And I think given all the issues with NC State's defense coming into this game, he can be a guy who really picks them apart. But the major problem for NC State's defense is the running back tandem of Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price for the Fighting Irish. I think these two are going to run wild on this NC State defense. I'll be totally honest. I have them going for a combined 250 yards and a combined three touchdowns. Um, I just don't see, given the injury situation, and I'll talk about this more when we get into the storylines, but I don't see a way that the Wolfpack can slow this duo down. They've been one of the stronger duos as the season's gone on. Obviously, Love had some Heisman hype going into the season, but has been splitting carries with Price, which has sort of cooled that off. But they've combined for over 15 total touchdowns on the season. They've proven that they can just take over games when needed and are both explosive players. And they're up to 800 yards combined so far. So when they can just rotate one for the other over and over and over again against the NC State defense that has been so vulnerable to the big running backs so far this season, I think that's a recipe for a disaster on that side of the football for the Wolfpack. Finally, I do think Notre Dame scores a touchdown on the defensive side of the football, whether that's pick six, maybe a special teams touchdown. I just think they're going to find a unique way to score to kind of break NC State's back in this one. So let's dive into the storylines, sort of building off of that Notre Dame offensive stat projection. Um, my first question is, how will DJ Elliott and Charlton Warren attack this Notre Dame offense from the defensive side? I think the goal and probably their best shot to pull off an upset here would be to take away the run. I just don't know that they're capable of doing that given the personnel that they have right now. Sean Brown's status is still unknown at the linebacker spot, so you're probably rolling with a diminished linebacker group. You're going to be counting on this defensive line that hasn't done a great job against the run in some of these games. They got gashed by Virginia Tech, got gashed in key moments by Duke, got gashed by Virginia throughout that entire game. So I don't see them being able to stop this duo super successfully. But let's say they sell out, load up the box, and Notre Dame can't get the run going. You're forcing CJ Carr to be a passer, and it comes down to, do you think he can beat you with his arm? And I think yes. I think he's a talented enough quarterback that he's going to be able to go out there and carve up this secondary that's equally embattled right now, dealing with just a plethora of injuries, especially at the nickel and the safety positions. So, do you think Carr could beat you over the top? I think anybody can beat this NC State secondary right now over the top, given the personnel that they're working with, and obviously these guys can grow from week to week, but you're going against one of the best offenses in the country to this point. So I don't see them having an answer to this, and I think NC State's only shot in this game is to win in a shootout, and that brings me to another point that I have, another storyline, which is the turnover margin. And Dave Doran talked about this earlier in the week. His teams have won 95% of the games that they've won the turnover margin in. And that's the case for every team. I talked about this the other day. That's not really a crazy stat for NC State. That's just when you get more possessions and you take away possessions from the other team, you're going to have a more likely chance of winning the football game. And currently, NC State ranks 89th in turnover margin, while Notre Dame ranks 17th per game, and that's per game. That's not, on the season. So Notre Dame's proven that they can take the ball away pretty consistently. Leonard Moore already has 3 picks on the season, so he's a ball hawk option. He had a pair last week against Boise State. They can get to the quarterback. So, NC State's best shot is, you win an extra possession by picking off Carr or forcing a fumble or, making a brilliant special teams play. And, you gotta make this as messy a game as possible in situations like that in order to have a chance. I don't know that they can do that. The special teams has been a zoo over the last month. Obviously, continued to be a mess even against Campbell last week with the muffed punts by Teddy Hoffman. Anderson, my guess is will be the punt returner consistently moving forward. Doran already kind of said that, but we haven't seen it in the next game yet. Finally, I think one thing that NC State could be in good position with if they can play a clean game is the penalty battle because Notre Dame will commit a penalty or two. They've committed close to 6 per game on the season so far. So if they can sort of get them frustrated and jumping off sides or holding or things like that, then if NC State can play a clean game, which they've had their own issues with at times, but they've also proven that they can play clean games, then they might be in good shape in that sense, and that's a way that you can extend possessions and a way you can really get under the skin of a team that you are trying to upset. And if Doran can find ways to, I don't want to say manufacture penalties, but just sort of get under the skin in that sense and win the officiating battle, that could go a long way in NC State walking out of South Bend with a victory. My final point is, can CJ Bailey handle this stage? I mean, this is a massive game for him against a ranked opponent. He's hugely confident coming into this one. I just am not super confident in the ability of his offensive line. They've struggled in the games against elite pass rush talent, and Notre Dame has one of the best in the country in Boubacar Traore. That's going to be probably Jacarius Peak's best assignment of the season so far. Maybe since the Duke game. Um, Probably his second best of the entire year before he faces Ruben Bain in Miami later in the season if Bain can go in that one. But this is going to be the proof is in the pudding matchup for Peak, and if he can neutralize Traore and give his quarterback some time and NC State can push the ball down the field, then they might have a shot, to put some points on the board. And I think they will put some points on the board. I just think this offense is too good not to. I do worry about the the defense. That's really my major issue. So let's jump to the bold prediction. Just one for this week, and it's really just the outcome of the game for going NC State's way. I think CJ Bailey could play his best game of the season and of his collegiate career. And I think if he does that, you have a chance to outduel Notre Dame in a shootout. We already saw this happen this season with A&M. Marcel Reed put together one of his best performances ever. They had a couple timely plays on special teams with that kickoff return, and they went there and they won that game. And I think if you get elite quarterback play and you just win a couple extra possessions, you can beat this team if you're NC State. Is that possible? I have no idea. I can't sit here and say that NC State's suddenly going to be able to fly around the football field and force a bunch of turnovers because they haven't done that all year. They just haven't. They have 3 picks on the year. 2 of them came against Wake Forest, a team that's not even close to the degree that Notre Dame is. So I just I don't see it happening. The worst case scenario for NC State in this game is the complete opposite of that, where Bailey just totally falls apart in this one against a high level defense, turns the ball over like he did against Duke, although he did have a quality game in that one overall. Other than the turnovers, he just threw the ball a lot and was kind of pressing. But if they get in trouble and they're going three and out, three and out, three and out, and Bailey just can't find anybody, this could be a really, really long afternoon for the Pack. So that brings me to my score prediction, my official score prediction. No boldness, no worst case scenario. This is just straight up what I think is going to happen. Um, I think Notre Dame just is the better football team here. I think they want to win every game with style points. So I think the Irish get this one 49 to 28. I think NC State again is able to put some points on the board. I don't know if that'll be early or late, but I don't see this being a game that Dave Doran can win. Although if they're going to win a game against a ranked opponent, I think this is their best shot. Because more so because I'm not sure Florida State will be ranked by the end of the season when that game comes around. But if that is the case, then I think NC State can beat Florida State. However, this is not the environment. It's not the opportunity that I think they can get it done. I just think there's too many things going against them in this one. And yeah, I mean, I don't see it being a great afternoon for the Pack. I think there's a chance they can keep it close, but it's going to be really, really hard for this defense to contain this Irish offense for this game. So that's your game day preview for NC State at Notre Dame. Kickoff scheduled for 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. We'll have updates for you throughout. I'll be watching from Raleigh. Did not make the trip out to South Bend, but we'll be covering the game remotely, and we'll have coverage for you that way. And of course, you can find our coverage on social media. Follow me at Senate Tucker on Twitter. You can follow the website at Wolfpack on SI on Twitter, and you can find daily episodes of the NC State Insider Podcast on the Sports Videos on SI YouTube channel. We'll catch you tomorrow for the game.